Major funding for these broadcasts has been provided by grants from New York Community Bank, Capital One Bank, Eastern Consolidated, M&T Bank, Sterling National Bank, Meridian Capital Group, the Witkoff Organization, Customers Bank, Ariel Property Advisors, Chase Commercial Term Lending, Chase Mortgage Lending, Perfect Building Maintenance, Genova Burns. Additional funding has been provided by AKA Hotels, Corman Communities, AmTrust Title Insurance Company, AVR Realty Company, Bank of America Merrill Lynch, Bank Leumi USA, Briarwood Organization, CBRE, Citizens Bank, Cohen Equities, Colliers International NYC, Collins Building Services, Connect One Bank, CPEX Real Estate Services, Dime Community Bank, Douglaston Development, Levine Builders, Flushing Bank, Friedman LLP, Handro Properties, Handler Real Estate Organization, HAP Investments, Hodges Ward Elliott Inc., Investors Bank, James D. Kuhn Real Estate Center at Syracuse University, Kilroy Architectural Windows, Madison Realty Capital, Matone Group, Mercantile Bank, New Banks, Newmark Grubb Knight Frank, Optimum Window Manufacturing Corp., People's United Bank, Polsonelli, Rosewood Realty Services, SJP Properties, Stonehenge Partners, TD Bank, Terra CRG, the Knackle Group at Cushman & Wakefield, Maring-Goff Family Foundation, the Moynihan Group, and these friends.
Everybody comes to New York to shop. They want to go to retail. They want to go to venues. They want to do things. So I've today brought together, with the help of my executive producer, Mr. Silverman, a group of individuals who are going to tell you about what's happening in retail in New York City and the region. My guests, they include Brad Mendelson, the vice chairman at Colliers International, New York City; Sherri White, who's the executive vice president and partner at the Witkoff Group; Kevin Chisholm, who is the co-founder and the CEO at 60 Guilders; and last but not least, the man who has helped me to produce today's show, Will Silverman, who is a managing director at Hodges, Ward & Elliott. So what's happening today in retail? Because, you read in the papers, they say the Limited is closing, this one's closing, American Apparel is closing. Is retail on the balls, or are we in a good time on retail?
Well, it's a little bit of a survival of the fittest. It's, if you've got good goods, they sell. If you sell them at a better price, you can stay in business. And I think entertainment retail obviously is sort of, the place to be in right now, and the thing everybody likes.
When we talk about entertainment retail, sometimes people think of, is Chuck E. Cheese part of that entertainment retail concept?
Sure, why not? It's anything that sort of entertains you, and it could be that there's just a coffee shop inside of a store. It could be that, it's about what you do once you're shopping inside of it. So, it could be displays that entertain you. It could be the shopper experience inside there. It could be, technology and what you do with it inside the store. It's not just a boring shop anymore.
Now, your locations, do you think yours are entertainment retail, or your retail locations that you have in Soho, what type of tenancy are over there, and then what happened on 33rd Street?
So we have the bulk of our retail properties are in Soho. We have 5 stores that are all clustered right around the Apple store. And for better or for worse, they all just became vacant within the past couple months. So we're out hunting for tenants right now. And certainly a good number of
Don't
the tenants...
Don't worry, Mendelson's over here. He's going to try to get the leasing. Okay.
A good number of the tenants that we're talking to are very focused on creating entertainment options and creating a new type of experience for their shoppers. I think one, and they're sort of looking at new concepts. And as a result of that, certainly availability rates are going up right now. And at the same time, retailers are sort of experimenting with new formats that are entertainment oriented. And as a result, one trend that we're seeing is that the tenants who are coming and looking at our spaces are looking to do these short-term temporary deals where they want to date first before they get married. Yes.
Are you seeing many of your clients looking at pop-up stores?
A lot of our clients, where they have vacancies, would prefer to have a pop-up just to keep the street active. And other clients don't ever want to talk to a pop-up. I think what you're seeing in retail today, if you don't differentiate yourself from other retailers, people are going to go online and buy your product online as opposed to have that experience in the store.
But I agree partially with that. But if you look at the Warby Parker and some of the other places, even though they're online, their retail stores in the city are doing exceptionally well. People want to go; they want the experience also.
Well, partly you buy glasses and you want to try them on and look at them in multiple ones at a time. And I know that you can buy them and they show up in a box in your home, but you kind of want to go and ask somebody else's opinion about them in a store that is a professional about it. And so, because glasses in some way have a medical feel to them.
But isn't, relating, and even though you're more in the investment sales, what about the apparel? I mean, there was once a time that people could you can try glasses on with the camera and take a picture of how you'd look on that. But apparel they were trying to do some apparel online. People buy from Gilt and these other places.
Well, sure. I mean, a lot of them Rent the Runway,
right.
Gilt. Look at Amazon. Amazon is launching a massive apparel platform. It's not easy because sizing is difficult and the return rate is higher. So if you sort of study what goes on over the holiday, like Christmas, when the biggest shopping time for these apparel retailers, they track the return rate. So if they get sell something online, they return it to the store. What you'll see from MasterCard, Visa, Amex, you'll see a lot of those guys will give you the statistics of what happens when there's the return, because they see this, in real time. You get a return. Now it's up to that retailer to sell them something more and upsell them. So, for every dollar that's returned, they want to sell them $1.50. And that is where the retailer needs to have the four walls and the bricks and mortar that is that much better than just a plain old store, because they get a second bite at the apple after Christmas. And that is sort of a phenomenon that's sort of like, taking hold, is that the returns are pretty high. From things that are bought online. What you want is a physical presence so that you can actually take a second chance. Instead of making it real easy for them to take it in and send it in a box, you basically say, we invite you to return that in the store, and then they can upsell you.
Right. You've recently, over the past years, sold a number of retail sites. Who's looking to buy? What's the profile? Are there a lot of foreign investors? Are there institutional investors? Or are there, the families that we were talking about before?
I think it depends on what type of retail you're talking about. I think the local market, which has been dominated by probably two handfuls of main investors, has been more relaxed of late, because I think they've been waiting for prices to relax and potentially come to them. The institutional audience, I think over the last 5 to 10 years, really awakened to the retail opportunity, and you started to see pension fund advisors get into that business in a way that they hadn't. I think the first time that I met Sherri was on a tour of an asset that Vornado didn't end up pursuing, but it was an Upper West Side retail asset that ultimately went to Teachers and was their first retail deal in New York City. So you saw that institutional awakening. With respect to foreign groups, you've seen some of them be interested when it's super trophy retail, but retail in many other parts of the world just doesn't work the same way that it does here. So for example, if you travel around in China, you might see what seems like an endless amount of Chanel stores, for example, because when they do a mixed-use development there, they always put a luxury mall in the base, and they always throw in free stores in order to energize it. So a lot of the market there is accustomed to at home thinking of that as loss leader space, not super profitable space.
You bring up an interesting point. I still remember it was 2004, 2005, when the Time Warner Center opened, and I was writing articles. And you know me, I normally didn't knock people, but I was not that positive on the initial Time Warner because I had seen what happened at Trump Tower and some other vertical malls over here. How is the conceptual idea today of a vertical?
Well, Time Warner, when it opened up, was not really that successful. But it turned over its tenants, and Whole Foods did a great job for them. Their restaurants did a great job for them, and they filled in, and it's now a successful shopping center. You've got the Hudson Yards building 500,000 square feet of shopping in the middle of basically nowhere today. That'll be somewhere sometime in the future. You've got Neiman Marcus going to the top of it, right? Department stores are dead. I don't know why they're opening more department stores in New York.
But you have Nordstrom's also opening up on 57th Street.
But slowing it down. Their business is not good. There's not a department store around whose business is successful today. When you take a Federated Stores, for example, where the real estate that's owned by Macy's is worth more than the entire company, something needs to adjust. People aren't really buying in department stores. They're buying online, most of those people. That doesn't take out the women who want to go out and get their cosmetics done. Men don't typically shop in department stores. All men's stuff is sort of put downstairs in the basement on the left, so you can't find it.
You know,
Do you think that's true in New York City, that people don't, like, if people, I could understand people not shopping in department stores out in the suburbs or other parts of the country, but
I think it's very true in New York. There are exceptions. Henry Mendelson, which was not here anymore, okay, but Bergdorf Goodman, it's an individual store.
But you know,
it's unique.
You take Suit Supply, okay, which is on the second floor of a building at 60th Street, and some of the more custom suit places, which are there for the thin guys, the thin, tall guys, okay? Present company.
Let me know if you find some.
Okay? You know, those stores are doing well. You're seeing different type of stores.
Well, you're looking at a $500 suit.
Yeah.
That's made for you.
And men's is very chic right now. I mean, men's attire is very in vogue. You know, what men are wearing, they're very stylish. The thinness of the pant, the cut of the jacket. You look immediately out if your pant legs look like, my husband will kill me, but my husband's, leftover Levi's from, another
Don't
decade
worry,
ago.
my wife told me you can't wear those jeans anymore, okay?
Yeah, exactly. But I say to him, Levi's
like
makes
those
a
Tommy
great
Bahamas,
up-to-date
but you know
jean. Like, let's go out, let's go there, let's get an up-to-date jean. But, they are buying, and that's been a phenomenon for a little while. I think J. Crew started a lot of it with, their own sort of specialty men's store. And, you can buy suits that don't have to come off the rack anymore. There's a lot of custom that isn't so expensive anymore.
What about the the grocery business? We've seen a change in the grocery business. I don't see too many groceries.
You're about to see a bigger change.
Yeah.
Amazon Prime now, you can order and have it delivered to your house in an hour.
But they haven't figured it out yet because it's still,
They will.
like, there's a lot of, food is very hard to handle. It has a temperature sensitivity. It has a lot of health code issues. It has delivery issues and timing issues. And you cannot put the downy in with the bread because you'll kill your children. I mean, trust me, this has happened I don't know how many times with food I've delivered. That sensitivity is about the brains of the people that you hire that actually pack these boxes. And so the quality of the packer is going to matter a lot, and that staffing just can't be anybody. And then you have to actually get it into the city and stage it. And I see with Fresh Direct, where I order from both Prime and Fresh Direct, is they're staging in the street. As they get more and more, there's going to be somebody from the health department that's going to come around and start hounding them, because when I see packages in the street, I just want to go, I hope that's not my box. I hope to God that's not my chicken sitting on the ground, where I'll only buy meat from Whole Foods now. So, you look at a lot of that stuff and that is fussy stuff, and it's going to take a while to figure out, but it's changing.
How do they look at the situation of the grocery because of what happened with Food Emporium? A&P went out of business.
It's dead.
It's dead.
It's all about debt.
Fairway is the similar problem. Okay, even though they reorganized, they look like the stores are no longer the same type of Fairway stores. I mean, you as an investor, would you be looking at that, or would you be happy with a Whole Foods 365 store today that they're opening up in downtown Brooklyn?
if I was the landlord, I would be very happy to be Whole Foods landlord, no question. And I think that, as certainly, I think the future, a big part of grocery shopping is going to be done online, but there's not going to be, you're never going to replace your local grocery store.
Well, there's certain parts of grocery shopping that are a little bit fun. Number one, you've got a lot of people who do
take
welcome
the 3 kids.
Well, exactly. You got some people with a bunch of kids at home. Some of them might welcome the break and look forward to the shopping trip. Number two, if you live near interesting neighborhood stores that are fun to shop in, I used to live near Brooklyn Fair. And number three, people like it. So we're marketing a full block front of retail that's presently vacant on Smith Street in Brooklyn. And we stood on the corner for about 2.5 hours one afternoon and just asked everyone walking by if they lived in the neighborhood and what they would want there. Simplest question in the world.
Trader Joe's.
And, they have Trader Joe's 2 blocks away, and they still said they wanted more grocery because everyone was frustrated that it takes 45 minutes to get in and out of Trader Joe's. And I'll tell you, I lived 2 blocks from that Trader Joe's for 6 years. I never actually shopped there. I went in 8 or 9 times hoping to shop there, and I was so discouraged based on how busy it was.
Yeah, well,
Same problem Upper West Side with Trader Joe's.
Same problem. I live in Chelsea. I walk in at 8:30. There's a guy with a stick at the end of a very, very, very long line saying, "Line ends here." I turn around and leave.
But we're like that Yogi Berra joke, right? The place is too crowded, nobody goes there, right? We're the ones not going there because it's too crowded.
But
I think a lot of people like that fun. Like it's sometimes fun to go to those environments.
I mean, if you're talking about food experience, I think Stu Leonard's created the initial experience. Also, coupled with the fact that you can never get out of the store.
Yeah, because it's a one-way line.
It's a one-way line, and the mall. I mean, he's created, a maze going through the store, and that's the way they created it specifically. People say that New York City is under-retailed. Do you believe that the boroughs are under-retailed?
I don't know about the boroughs. I don't think Manhattan's under-retailed at all.
No, Manhattan is not under-retailed, but a lot of people say, especially with the number of people, you lived in Brooklyn, you know what's happening, parts of Queens. I mean, I believe that Long Island City today, with all of the new units coming on board, they don't have adequate retailing.
No, that's definitely under-retailed.
Yeah.
I don't think they have a grocery store.
No, they don't.
Well, the other
It's
issue.
called Costco.
Well, the issue with a lot of those new neighborhoods is not just that the number of people moving in, it's that you've never had a neighborhood created from scratch, which with as homogenous a demographic as you're going to have in neighborhoods like Long Island City and downtown Brooklyn, because there's no other neighborhoods that were all built at once. Like if you think about it, take the Upper East Side, right? You've got some mid-block buildings that are lower end that might be walk-ups, and then you've got some tower high-rises that are very high-end. What you've got in these neighborhoods like Long Island City and downtown Brooklyn are entire communities filled with people who all, and I mean all, and I'm one of them because I used to live in one of these communities, they all want to eat kale on a reclaimed wood table under an Edison bulb. And they all want to do that 2 or 3 nights a week, and they're all about to have kids or just had kids, and they all have very, very similar lifestyles. So the retail opportunity there is great because unlike a normal community of say 30 or 40,000 people where 1 in every 5 people might be relevant to any given retailer, anybody who merchandises properly there is going to have a fantastic hit rate because of how homogenous the demographic is.
Interesting. Let's talk about Times Square because I know you're working on properties over there and you have a unique. Tell us about some of the things that you're building. It's called 20 Times Square or 701 7th Avenue, correct?
It is. So we did a deal with the Cirque du Soleil to operate and run the NFL experience. It's 40,000 square feet and it's pure entertainment sort of retail. It's taking somebody who's not a traditional retailer, the NFL, and bringing that to a sort of a street presence to allow families and kids to experience the NFL without necessarily watching it on TV where they might not know what's going on, without sort of sitting in a seat and it's 20 degrees below zero in a game. And there's kids that aren't, like who can, what a kid that's 8 years old may not have 8 hours of patience to sit in a game. So this gives them a sort of a touch and feel of the experience of, what it's like to be a football player, what it's like to be in the NFL, where these kids come from. They're building and grooming sort of future NFL watchers. And,
now,
and
you also have the Hershey store is moving across the street.
So the Hershey store is moving. This is like 3 times the size of the current store. There's a lot of things about Hershey that people don't even know. If you go down to the experience in, in Hershey, Pennsylvania, they run a kitchen down there. They make a lot of their own food, and they don't wholesale it. And so one thing they're going to bring here is that Hershey kitchen, and amongst all what they already have, there'll be prepared foods. So what I said to them is, if you're going to pay rent for 24 hours, you might as well be open longer and sell something at 6 a.m., 7, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. And they make, breakfast food like, the muffins and the,
Right, it's like the Kellogg store where they're selling cereal and that.
Yeah,
but that's a very small store.
I'm not even totally sure that's about breakfast either. I think that's about bringing
That's a
that
brand.
customer back to eat cereal and stuff. These guys are really more about, experience what Hershey is and why. How do you use Hershey beyond having a Hershey bar, right? And beyond having, a Jolly Rancher. And it's about taking the food and the goods of what Hershey produces, like they make a baking chocolate that's one of the best ones in the country. People probably don't even know it. And, using that to cook with chocolate and sort of showing them with the product they produce that you can only get there. And in Hershey, what you can do with chocolate other than have a chocolate bar.
Toys R Us left.
Yeah, it was a loss.
I mean, it was a loss.
No, it was a loss because
a Ferris wheel.
It was an attraction.
Well, and they still did like $80 million of sales. I mean, that poof is just sitting out there because FAO closed at the same time.
Right.
And you look at it, you go, what a, there's.
So what's
there's
going in? You're going to have a Super Gap Limited?
Well,
Super Gap
no, limited. We have Gap and Old
Gap
Navy. We have
Old
Gap
Navy.
and Old Navy, who took a portion of the old Toys R Us space. And we're negotiating with a bunch of other people. Everybody who goes there is using this experience to reinvent themselves and create a new look, a new way of merchandising. And we certainly hope it works for them.
Now, if we're talking about different type of entertainment, a number of years ago, I remember when Durst opened up the building on the corner of 42nd Street, you had the ESPN zone, which really didn't do well.
No, you know what?
Was it before its time?
That was run by Disney, and Disney sort of didn't want. Disney is produces things. It doesn't operate like it even sort of rolled out its own stores, sold them off, licensed them off. Didn't really want to run them because that's not what they want to do. They want to really run the four walls, right? And so there weren't enough ESPNs to matter, and I think that one wasn't not successful.
But
they did not want to roll out that brand and run that brand anymore.
What's interesting is that conceptual idea maybe went into the place that you have on 33rd Street, where the Irish pubs have more TV screens in them, and they operate more efficient, right?
Yeah, so on 33rd Street, we have a mid-block property with just an Irish bar and some quick-serve food tenants. We had one space rollover recently, and we put a Korean fried chicken store in, a couple blocks from K-Town. And I got to tell you, we had probably 6 bids all come in at the same time for a 1,500 square foot vacant food space versus, and we're having a very different experience in Soho, where we own very high-end retail that's sort of more suitable for luxury tenants and technology tenants.
The problem you have with luxury tenants today is they're just not expanding. Their market's been walloped. Richemont's doing half the business this year they did the year before last. Last year wasn't a good year for them either. Louis Vuitton's not doing what they were doing. They're all making money, but they're not making as much, and they're not expanding. In fact, they're retracting.
But they're missing from Soho. So the ones that all of them, a lot of them, most of them want to be in Soho. So if they're not there, they will go and pay up and be there, is my view on that market. I do think that, they are expanding in a different way and that they're buying brands. So I think they're looking to grow those big conglomerates with acquisition, and then they have to prove out themselves very quickly.
In the same way that Kevin was talking about, his stores are very close to the Apple store. Do you think, and I'm not certain of how the Microsoft store is doing, perhaps a Microsoft store or a Snapchat store could do well in Soho?
Sure.
Why not? Yeah.
No, I'm just,
I think it
posing.
depends on the product at the moment.
You've got a lot of traffic. So that's one thing. Broadway, massive traffic.
With money, too.
With money. But the brands who are in the marketplace won't pay the price. Every store can't be a flagship. Flagships typically don't want to lose a lot of money, but don't mind if they don't make a lot of money. People go to Soho, they want to make money. So
You mean as opposed to Madison Avenue where we have
or
brands?
Fifth Avenue.
Right.
But when you're growing a brand and you buy by acquisition, you're trying to make the thing have a statement up front. They will do that and have a loss leader because they will grow a bigger platform. And Soho makes a statement.
There's only 2 flagships on Broadway.
He's on.
No, I know he's not on Broadway.
Yes,
he's on
Spring
Prince,
and-
but
yeah.
I'm making a point. And that's the Nike store that's just opening. Is it open yet? Nike?
It's open, yeah.
It's open.
It's open.
And
Well done.
and Prada.
Well, and
Okay, and by
Topshop.
the way, yeah, and everything else between Houston and Canal can probably be made available. There hasn't been more than a handful of deals done in the last year and a half.
What about Lower Manhattan? Okay, you have the Westfield, the Oculus, and so
We've done really well at 195 and 222. We did Zara at 222, which is the corner of Ann Street. We did Urban Outfitters at 195. Nobu's going into 195, and we have a lease out for the balance of that ground floor space at really good numbers. Westfield's project, the Oculus, is gorgeous. I don't know if anybody's doing any business there but Apple. The traffic there isn't really a tourist traffic. It's I'm going to the path traffic, and a $500 Smythson pad while you're going to the... It doesn't make sense to me, and I'm sure there'll be some shake out there.
But don't you have, I believe, Nike and Marshalls or TJ Maxx opening up in Ben Scholl's property over
I don't
there?
think Nike, but I think the
Marshall.
I think Marshalls.
Marshalls is definitely committed. I do believe quietly that I had heard that somebody like a Nike or somebody...
I don't think it's Nike.
Yeah,
Nike's...
But listen, you had 8 million square feet in the last 10 years of residential ad down there. Now you had some office subtraction, but the residential gives you that 7-day-a-week market. That market used to be 5-day a week. It was a solid 5-day a week. People left at 6 o'clock when the market closed, et cetera, right? They did their things, they cleared their trades, and at 6 o'clock half the market was out of there. So that has really turned into a 7-day-a-week market and is emerging still. And because of the trade center, it got sort of frozen in that emergence. And then now that it's reopened, and Westfield hasn't been open that long, you are seeing a massive boom down there that I think will continue. If you tried to find space down there, there's not a lot. There's not a lot of retail to actually rent because a lot of it is taken up with either big department store, or big, just not on grade retail because the things were built down there for vault type space.
What's your thoughts about the West Side near the Hudson Yards, besides the Hudson Yards, for other retail? I mean, would you look over there?
I think it's a little too early for us. And I think if you have patient
By a lot of
capital,
years. Yeah. By a lot of years. I think you're 10 years from.
Right.
That
I believe it's going to take time.
The
Okay.
masses won't be there for a long time.
And it doesn't
If
availability rates are up across the board for retail in Manhattan.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of absorption and a lot of new leasing that needs to take place before you're going to.
It doesn't feel like a pioneering moment from what we're hearing
Right.
here.
But I think in summation, retail continues to be strong in different areas and different models. Okay, the fast casual we know is doing well. The medical space is because it's being used. If it's a Whole Food, a Trader Joe's, or something like that, it's going to do okay. And hopefully retail continues as people visit and move to New York. I'd like to thank Brad, Sherri, Kevin, our producer Will, and I'll see you next week.